Hello there. Loneliness is my topic today. We've all been isolated to some degree in recent months due to lockdown. But some of us are likely to have suffered more than others. Some may feel lonely even when they're with other people. And this video it aims to be about how to experience less loneliness and how to feel less isolated and feel more connected with the world and the people in it, and to feel more engaged in general. Did you know that loneliness may have a similar public health outcomes as diabetes or smoking 15 cigarettes a day? A wave of expert opinion is building towards the acknowledgement of loneliness as a growing epidemic across a number of societies, Western societies in particular. But this is no ordinary epidemic. It's not biological. It's socioeconomic and technological. And currently we may have had it imposed upon us, during the pandemic. And the wealthy are not necessarily more protected. In fact, they're likely to be more at risk. And although the elderly might be at the highest risk of being lonely, it's the middle-aged that are more likely to die from it, according to research. A recent finding from a major survey on this topic suggests that loneliness is remarkably prevalent. 43% of 1,600 people interviewed reported feeling lonely or experiencing some degree of loneliness. In early 2018, the Prime Minister here in Britain at the time, Theresa May, announced the creation of a new government role, the Minister of Loneliness, recognising the growing public health problems associated with loneliness. And this minister's role is to develop policies that help people to overcome loneliness. A Mandy Hale quote that I really like goes, "A season of loneliness and isolation is when the caterpillar gets its wings. Remember that next time you feel alone." Loneliness and health outcome. Loneliness and social isolation were recognised as public health problems before the lockdowns had begun all around the world this year. And some have referred to it as an epidemic. And why is this important to acknowledge? The effects of loneliness put people who are less socially connected at higher risk of premature death. And they're more likely to experience disrupted sleep patterns, altered immune systems, more inflammation, higher levels of stress hormones. Loneliness can accelerate cognitive decline in older adults. To test what we all know anecdotally, the results of a 9-month research trial conducted in care homes in the UK demonstrated that just 10 minutes of one-to-one daily chats improved the well-being of people living with dementia. Loneliness can have a negative health effects similar to those that are caused by obesity and smoking, as I said earlier. And it's not limited to older adults. A Harris poll of American adults that was conducted in 2016 reported that nearly 1/3 had experienced loneliness at least once a week. A study by the British Mental Health Foundation found that young adults aged 18 to 34 were more likely to experience loneliness than individuals over 55. A real breakthrough study in 2015 established some clear links between loneliness and public health outcomes. Researchers at Brigham Young University, conducting a meta-analysis of 70 independent studies from around the world, concluded that loneliness was associated with an increased mortality risk of between 26 and 32%. It's big. Like many epidemiological forces, loneliness affects different groups in different ways. Loneliness and young people. The young are the first to grow up in this sort of connected generation with multiple modes of live interaction available to them. However, without the maturity to understand and balance the ways in which they interact with others, they are at risk of experiencing emotions and feelings that their parents or carers from older generations may struggle to identify with and understand. If we think about the elderly, those in their later years are at most risk of loneliness, but then their children have grown up in a more mobile generation and have moved away, often far away from their parents. Meanwhile, they've watched, physical centres of connection and community gradually decline over the past decades. The population around them has also become more transient. Connection has become more technology driven, and greater austerity has squeezed public spending on community enhancing measures. A study by the Campaign to End Loneliness in the UK found that 3 out of 4 doctors reported seeing between 1 and 5 lonely people per day. 1 in 10 reported seeing between 6 and 10 people who came in primarily because they were lonely. Only 13% believed that they were equipped to deal with these patients. If we think about the workplace, modern work enabled by technology, it's fast-paced, it's demanding. The lines between work and non-work are becoming increasingly blurred, leading to fewer deep friendships outside of the workplace. And this is particularly likely to affect those in professional corporate jobs, a sign that higher socioeconomic groups are particularly susceptible. Indeed, HBR's snapshot survey revealed that half of CEOs are experiencing feelings of loneliness in their roles. A study by Relate, the UK-based relationship charity, reported that most workers have much more contact with their boss and colleagues than their own friends or close family. So how can we combat this? How can we combat loneliness? Whatever way you look at it, whether it's health outcomes or productivity, increasing loneliness is a massive concern that needs more attention. It's also a bit of a taboo subject that perhaps people need to talk about it more. We all have our part to play in combating this epidemic, but unlike other epidemics that we face, isolation tends to make it worse. Medication won't necessarily help. Lonely people need meaningful and enduring connection. Loneliness comes in many forms, but hopefully some of the points and tips and ideas that I wanted to offer up today can ease some of those feelings if you or anyone you know is suffering from the epidemic, though a short video can't possibly exhaust that. Firstly, talk about it, get it out of hiding. Loneliness is normal, and we all feel lonely from time to time. When it grows to be an inward, overwhelming force, you want to get it out in the open and not hide it, and reach out, connect with trusted friends, family members, or licensed professionals, counsellors, therapists, some people who care, as well as someone that you can care about having a relationship with, and you can focus on helping others in turn. Secondly, make sure you're not living your life through a screen. Whether it's a phone, a television, or other devices, you want to refuse to be a voyeur and a commentator of others' lives. Commit yourself to becoming the author of your own, beautiful life story. Thirdly, we can promote more human contact through work, lead by example, encourage meaningful conversations rather than simple updates, encourage small group discussions about important topics, ask for opinions and new ideas, create fun icebreakers where people get to know each other, take opportunities to talk with colleagues rather than only ever sending emails, when in-person conversation would improve the communication, encourage work-life integration. There's no such thing as a perfect balance, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And to get out of there from time to time. Getting having some space outside of it. Even in lockdown, you can engage in all of these things either online or at safe distances. As the easing is going on, for example. And kind of loving that community, community members working together and watching out for their older neighbours are essential to reducing social isolation. In particular, reference to that research and reaching out, with assistance or invitations to connect. Helping a lot of people during lockdown were helping each other, were running errands and shopping and so on, and making the occasional call to say hello and check in. Or helping people with chores and so on, or spending time in conversation. Every little touch point makes a difference, and let neighbours and so on know that someone cares. And asking ourselves what we're doing and what we can do to foster in-person kind of community within your own relationships and among friends who share interests in common. But likewise, something that lots of people have been doing is connecting with the outdoors, spending time nurturing themselves in nature, as well as getting exercise. Physical activity contributes to wellness and well-being. The opposite of loneliness. And considering finding groups of like-minded people, there are fantastic groups out there filled with hundreds or even thousands of like-minded people sharing those interests, who can offer up problem solving and share personal experiences to aid with your journey. I belong to groups who help me with my weightlifting that I've come to rather late in life, and I'm keen to learn so much more about all of the time. And there's many people within those communities really prepared to share experience and expertise. But these groups, whether they're physical or virtual, can offer huge benefits and provide you with a pretty close-knit community for those times of despair, for example. You'll be talking with people that grasp, what you're feeling, what you're going through potentially, and give you some priceless connection, even advice on how to cope with certain issues. You can also gain important feedback and suggestions, along the way, from people that have perhaps experienced similar types of situations. And talk to the people that you care about. Not everyone will get you and will get what you're doing, and that's fine. Heck, it can actually be a breath of fresh air after some in some cases. Sometimes talking to a good friend, family member, or partner can be massively helpful in aiding your state of mind. You don't always need to have long, in-depth intellectual answers to help you. Sometimes, empathy and connection, and just being there, having the human touch is important. Do make a habit of getting better sleep. One of the most common indicators of loneliness is broken sleep. It's comorbid, typically. Taking a long time to fall asleep, waking frequently, feeling sleepy during the day, sleep deprivation under any circumstances lowers people's moods and makes them more likely to get sick, and dampens their energy. So it's important to tackle that issue. Finally, remember that loneliness, certain struggles, anxiety, that they're not unique to you. You're not alone in those feelings of aloneness. We all face challenges. We all face overwhelming obstacles and problems from time to time of this ilk. And none of this is simple. Consider looking up from your phone, taking a few steps, reaching out, finding friends and people who care, connect with and serve with a community of some kind. Find a cause bigger than your lonely feelings, and ideally tomorrow will be brighter. Joseph Newton once wrote that people are lonely because they build walls instead of bridges. And I think now, more than ever, is a time to reach out and to look at ways of really building those bridges to help defeat loneliness. Most people have suffered from loneliness at some point, and I hope that some of the ideas presented here to help you kind of lessen any loneliness that you may be experiencing are useful. Okay, that's it for today. Do subscribe to this YouTube channel for all the updates of the latest videos and notifications. Do go visit my college website for details of our online and classroom-based courses, as well as our members area. My thanks for tuning in. I send you my very best wishes. Goodbye for now.